Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to my channel. So in my channel, I want to give you that motivation to get out there and go explore. As of right now, I've been to over 30 countries, mainly in Europe, but working my way across the globe, and traveling is the best thing. So my job is to hopefully get you to get out there and explore and to really just see the world. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below and please give me a like or subscribe. And if you think I can do anything better, give me a shout. So in this video, we're going to talk about things to do in Rome. What are some kind of hints and tricks, hints and tips, and what are the best things really to check out and see? Obviously, the first thing what we think of when we think of Rome is the Colosseum, because you can't miss it. I mean, it is the focal point of Rome, and it's what everybody is taught in history class. But a couple things I will say about actually getting into the Colosseum. One, arrive there early, because the earlier you get there, you're going to avoid all those lines. Two, you'll see here right before you get to the Colosseum where everybody hangs out. Now, this photo was taken in the morning, so there's not many people going into the Colosseum at this point in time. I mean, there's a fair bit, but it could be a lot worse, trust me. But one thing I will say is that in this area, you'll often see tour guides getting ready to start. Now, they do charge a little bit to get in there. Usually it's about 20, 25 euro. Could be a little bit more these days. But also, who likes to hang out around here are gypsies, and they'll come up to you trying to sell you a rose for 20 euro or a piece of string for 20 euro. And it's nice sometimes to be supportive, but it's just a heads up because you might get chased if you look like a tourist, and they might come up to you and throw a fit if you don't actually end up paying them for that rose or for that piece of string. So just a little heads up there. You also, if you are into pub crawls and stuff like this, this is where a lot of the pub crawl venues like to come and advertise. So they see you're a tourist, they might say, "Hey, come do the Rome pub crawl," for example. Getting into the Colosseum though is fairly easy. It's only 12 euro. That's the one I recommend. I don't really recommend the tours because you can see the stuff on your own unless you really want that more advice and to spend a longer time in the Colosseum, then maybe a tour might be for you. But personally, 12 euros was fine for me, and I could spend all day in there, and I feel like I got the same, I guess, features as I would have if I would have just done a tour. So what does it actually like in the Colosseum? So this is kind of the best picture I could get. One thing I will say is all my photos are never photoshopped, so they will be what you see is what you get because I don't want to make it look like it's 1,000 times better than what it is if truly it sucked, which the Colosseum, I mean, it didn't suck at all. It's very good. But what I will say is you can't unfortunately go down here. So this is an off-limit zone. It would be really cool if you could, because this is where all the gladiators and that would fight and where they would store all of their equipment and things like that. But what you can do is you can walk around on these platforms that go around this area right here, as well as up here. So you are given full range really to walk all around the Colosseum. You just can't go on the ground level. This is really the closest you could get to getting on this part of the area in the Colosseum. And last but not least, Coliseum looks like this at night. Best photo I could do. Not gonna lie to you, I probably had a few drinks by then, so sorry if the picture is a little blurry, but this is what the Coliseum looks like at night. Still an incredible, incredible sight. Next thing to see is the Trevi Fountain, and the Trevi Fountain is an absolutely stunning sight. What I will say is, if you don't get there early, it's impossible to get a photo without a million people in the way. I have been to Rome a few times now, and I will say the best times to get a photo with nobody actually at the fountain is usually later at night. I'm talking maybe 10 o'clock or so at night, as well as early in the morning. Anything before 6 you could definitely get a good photo. But otherwise, you will have to do some photoshopping to get the people out of your photos. But in this case, I didn't do any photoshopping. I just cropped a little bit of the picture out, to be quite honest with you. Next thing to see is the Roman Forum. Now, the Roman Forum is absolutely beautiful. Now, you could walk all throughout this, like this person right here, as well as walk through other parts of the Forum. Really stunning, and if you hit the light just right, you could really get some incredible photos over here. And oftentimes I think this part of Rome is actually overlooked, and it happens to be my favorite part. very picturesque, very beautiful, and it's interesting to see really how the architecture looked back in the day as well as what it looks like now. So it is really a sight to see. Next is Parliament. You can't miss this. This is on the walk to Trevi Fountain. And most things in Rome are very close. Nothing's really too far. I would say it's definitely all within walking distance. It's very easy to get around Rome. You can take taxis if you want. I took a few while I was there. I will say that taxi drivers in Rome are pretty scary. They drive like a maniac, but you get from point A to point B usually pretty safe and pretty quickly. But what I will say is most things are close in Rome, and if you don't feel like spending that few extra euros, you don't have to do that because you could definitely walk there. Next is the Pantheon. Pantheon was a good site, and what I will say about this is, you know, me personally, I didn't think it was that exciting. You kind of just walk in there and, you know, walk around and kind of look at some of the sites, but it was just another building to me. But I'll let you be the judge on the Pantheon. And this photo right here of the Sistine Chapel, I will say this is definitely not my photo because I didn't take any photos within the Sistine Chapel, and you're actually not allowed to do that on some of the sites. But definitely another opportunity to go see some amazing art, and definitely worth a visit if you go to Rome. And last but not least is the Vatican City. Now, the Vatican City is definitely a sight to see. It is pretty busy throughout all periods of the day. As you can see here, this was taken at about 7 a.m. on a Sunday, so those people are getting ready for Sunday Mass and things like that. Usually, if you want to get a photo with lesser people in it, it's often at night, especially at the Vatican. Early morning, depending on how early you want to get up, I'm sure you can get a photo, but I was there at 7 a.m. and it was still pretty busy there. Also, be careful where you walk around in Vatican. Sometimes what I have noticed is that signage and postings really aren't that great there. So oftentimes you'll see these people called Vatican soldiers in orange and blue uniforms, and they're protecting you and securing that environment, ensuring that you're not walking in areas that you're not supposed to be in, because it is actually surprisingly pretty easy to do there. My friend and I, we actually made a wrong turn and were walking quite some time in the Vatican in a spot that we weren't supposed to be, which was a fun story to talk our way out of on that subject. But yeah, Vatican is definitely a sight to see. Yes, I know Vatican City is different from Rome, but while you're there, you got to check it out. And yeah, that concludes kind of what there is to do in Rome. Please feel free to give me a like below if there's anything that you want to know, anything I didn't cover, or just tell me what your favorite part of Rome is. I'd like to know. I'm always going back, and if you have some hints and tips for me, please feel free to let me know.